who will share the story of her daughter Emma and how the March of Dimes is gaining impact on their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, Becca Michael.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you so much to everyone that's here tonight. As the ambassador family for the March of Dimes Signature Chefs Auction, we're truly grateful for your support. If you had asked me 4 years ago if I'd ever heard of the March of Dimes, I would have told you that one time I did the March for Babies. It was about 10 years ago. A friend of mine was going, thought I'd be a good friend and go with her. I never, ever imagined that one day this organization would be so near and dear to my heart. Shortly after our daughter Madeline's second birthday, James and I were thrilled to be expecting again. It was all going according to plan. We had no reason to believe that this pregnancy would be any different than the first, other than the fact that I was really hoping that I wouldn't gain 60 pounds again. My due date was set for November 6th. But on July 6th, only 22 weeks and 3 days into the pregnancy, my water broke spontaneously. We headed for Fairview Southdale, and I was immediately taken by ambulance to the U of M Fairview Riverside. We weren't told much other than that they had a NICU that would be able to help us a little better, depending on what happened. We quickly learned that the age of viability was 23 weeks, and we were 4 days away. Thankfully, our little girl held on for a few more days. Emma Sue Michael was welcomed into the world on July 11th at 23 weeks and 1 day gestation. We never heard her cry. The NICU staff managed to get a breathing tube in on the second try, and James followed our 1 pound, 6 ounce baby girl down to the NICU. She was 11.5 inches long. I caught a real quick look at the smallest baby I had ever seen as they wheeled her past me in an isolette, and I was so grateful that James could go with her while I recovered. He came back to my room about a half hour later, and the only thing he said to me was, "She is so small." He told me a few months later that he didn't want to describe her to me that day because he was concerned that we wouldn't know her for very long, and he didn't want me to know what she looked like. Later that day, I finally was able to walk down to the NICU and check out our brand new baby. She was so premature that her eyes were fused shut, but she had a head full of dark black hair, the tiniest fingernails and toenails I'd ever seen, and she looked just like her big sister, and therefore like her dad. We soon noticed the sign over her isolette with tiny footprints and handprints that read, "Feisty," and she has certainly lived up to that description. We were given a laundry list of things that could happen to Emma, both in the short and long term. Overall, we spent 133 days in the NICU, and while she managed to avoid any surgeries, Emma battled serious infections, including meningitis and septicemia, had a grade 1 brain bleed, which is the lowest level, developed a blood clot right above her heart, had a small hole in her heart, and also received injections into her eyes for retinopathy of prematurity, a common complication that can lead to total blindness. She was intubated for 6 weeks, and to help her severely underdeveloped lungs, she was given surfactant and nitric oxide, both of which were developed via March of Dimes funded research. Minor issues included daily blood draws, almost losing her hand to a bad arterial line, heavy antibiotics for her infections that regularly clogged her IVs, and struggles with severe reflux. To say that life was a whirlwind of worry would be an understatement. It's still kind of surprising to me that James and I made it through that period in our lives. Eventually, the focus became less of a day-to-day worry that we would see her the next time we got to the NICU, and we could turn our thoughts to actually bringing her home. She moved from an isolette to a crib, got to have baths, and wear tiny little onesies that were made from doll clothes patterns, and we started to teach her how to eat. Emma came home the week of Thanksgiving in 2011, exactly 19 weeks after she was born, on oxygen and 13 doses of various medications every day, in addition to some twice daily blood thinners that we had to inject in her fatty areas. Her blood clot finally dissolved, the hole in her heart closed on its own, and she eventually came off oxygen at 6 months old. We spent the first winter in complete isolation instead of getting to show off our baby to friends and family after 4.5 months in the hospital. As a side note, if you want to learn how to properly wash your hands and disinfect every surface in your home, you can ask us. We're good at that. Emma turned 3 this past summer. She's still considered to have chronic lung disease, while while Madeline's colds tend to last just a couple days, Emma's will linger for weeks. She wears glasses to correct nearsightedness, and her hearing is checked thoroughly every 6 months as she's at a high risk for hearing loss. Developmentally, Emma tested above her peers in cognitive and language abilities and can literally talk her way out of almost any situation. The feistiness that kept her going in the NICU keeps us on our toes every day. And I'm going to point a little finger here at my parents. They flat out refuse to reprimand her. They won't do it. So she totally runs the show at Grandpa and Grandma's house. Like most parents, we never expected to need the March of Dimes. We didn't know that the newborn screening that Madeline had received when she was born was a result of their advocacy, and I can say without a doubt that our feisty Emma wouldn't be here without the breakthroughs that they have made regarding the care of premature babies. Your generous support tonight benefits the mission of the March of Dimes, working together for stronger, healthier babies.